Alright, welcome to Pluto Bros. Today, episode 4, we have the bass player for VapidSoul, or my brother,
my cousin,
Dillon Nikolas. Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, like Blake said, we are brothers. I am older by about 4 years.
Yep.
And I play bass for a band called VapidSoul. We're a metal band out of the Wisconsin, Illinois area. And I have been with the band since technically my birthday of 2022, September 30th, where it was my first show with the band. We played at a venue called the Lyric Room in Green Bay. And it was like my first show in like 3 years. Because, like, you know, being in a high school band and like literally just playing just these local bars and just hole-in-the-wall places. I was like, I missed it. So I was just like, gotta join a band.
So how did that process go when you joined the band? How did they like reach out to you, or how did that process go?
It was actually me reaching out to them because the vocalist, I've been friends with him on Facebook for a couple of years, and pretty much he kind of posted a meme on Facebook like, hey, play bass for my band, LMAO, and I was just like, hey, I don't mainly play bass, but like,
because I was gonna say, growing up, you always played guitar. So like, how did that transition to bass?
So I bought a bass when I moved into our house. I was just doing like solo covers, and I was just like, if I ever wanted to just play bass, I'm gonna need one. So I just I just bought one, and you know, monkeying around with it for about a year and a half, and then when I finally reached out to actually play bass in a band, I was just like, I need to take this a lot more seriously, and really started to hone in learning the bass as an instrument. Like, you would think it's pretty similar coming from a guitar player's background, which for the most part it is, but it's just there's different things, because as a guitar player you try to be like more on the forefront of the music, where the bass is kind of holding down the low end. So I was trying to find my place as far as musician goes was really the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, is there like a big, like, what's the difference between like playing bass in a band and playing guitar in a band? Like you said, how it's just like the bass is just like
pretty much the bass is the foundation of the instruments. It kind of holds down the low end most of the time, especially in metal. Like, you really don't hear what the bass is playing. But like, if it's not there, it's a huge difference in the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as far as the actual performing of playing bass, most modern metal bass players use a pick.
Mm-hmm.
I do not.
You pluck it?
I use fingers for all of it, mainly because there's like slapping parts in some of the Vapid stuff, so I just couldn't like get down
with the pick,
doing it with the pick. So I was just like, screw the pick. I'm rocking fingers. It was like Cliff Burton, Steve Harris style.
When you played guitar, did you use a pick or did you use your fingers too?
Yeah, I mainly used pick. I was trying to learn like the whole finger picking, like they call it chicken picking, which is a really fun name. But it's just, I don't know. My hand was just inept at it, and I just could not get it down for the life of me. So yeah, but actually learning it on bass is a lot easier than I was expecting.
Did you like playing bass more, or do you like playing guitar more?
And now it's kind of 50-50 with me, because I do enjoy still playing guitar and stuff. Like, when I write music, I always write on the guitar, because I just always start off with a guitar riff, and then I just build off of that riff, and whatever comes out is whatever happens. And I've been like, the way of writing bass is a little bit different, because you can also start off with a riff, but like, it's not going to sound, it's not like going to have guitar, that beefy, distorted tone the guitar does.
Right, yeah. That kind of like transitioned to what I was going to ask. But like you said, when you're writing, what's like the hardest thing in writing? Because, I mean, writing a song got to be like one of the hardest things you can do.
I mean, yes and no. Like, I can never just like sit down and be like, today I'm going to write a song. Like, it kind of has to happen organically. Like I'll
You just get like a riff or what?
yeah, like I'll just be monkeying around. Like sometimes I'll try like learning a song, and most of the time it's just learning it by ear because most of the online guitar tabs are never accurate. So learning it by ear is kind of what I tend to gravitate towards, and it also just kind of makes you better as a musician. Learning things by ear, you can kind of pick things out pretty easily. But yes, most of the time when it comes to my writing process, I'll start off with a riff and kind of see what I can do with it. And this is going to be very, very music nerdy, but like the theory behind it is like you kind of just want to. There's a lot of repetition, so like you kind of have your traditional like your intro, your verse, your chorus, your verse, and then it just kind of
Right. Yeah.
It's basically just like putting a giant puzzle together, where it's just like, oh, we pulled this part here, and you do this thing on the drums, and then we'll have this guitar break, and it just kind of flows. Like there's times where like I'll come home from work and like I'll write like an entire song in like 3 hours.
Just like in your head all day at work, you're just like thinking.
Yeah, just brainstorming ideas, or like sometimes I'll come up with like a rhythm that I want to try and mess around with, and just kind of go from there, and then just let the creative juices flow.
What's harder, like the actual rhythm or the lyrics, or do you not write the lyrics? Do you leave that for like or do you sometimes?
I dabble in writing lyrics, but like I sucked at writing stuff like creatively, like especially poetry, because lyrics and poetry are pretty hand in hand, and I hate poetry. I hate it. It's so weird to me, but like I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of throw my thoughts, like if I'm ever just having a crap day, just all the negative thoughts just goes on paper.
I mean, yeah, that's like how it works out. Like I feel.
Yeah.
Like if it's one of those things, like you can get gifted at it, but you might have it, you might not.
Yeah. It just comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and writing impactful lyrics has always been really big for me, because I've kind of always grown up like listening to the lyrics. So, and like now being in a band where a lot of it's just all like your typical metal screaming and harsh vocals, like the vocals act more as an instrument than actual vocals.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, and like metal, I can see that. Because like people say, like when you listen to metal, like, oh, I can't hear what they're saying, they're screaming, but like you said, it's just you have to like listen to it and actually like understand.
Yeah, and like you can also like every band has their lyrics published, so like you can always go read the lyrics along with the song. And but like if you just read most of like the modern like metalcore, deathcore like vocals like just on their own, either it's A, like a really dark story, or B, it's like some really uplifting thing for some reason. Like a lot of like Killswitch Engage is very uplifting, especially their last album. They have a song that's like talking about how the vocalist relates to people, and like when they're like really depressed and they feel like, you know, cutting themselves. And I don't know.
Damn.
It's very, very dark and depressing, but like also very uplifting, because it's like I'm with you. Like I've been there too.
Yeah, and people like that listen to it, or maybe even if you don't listen to it, but like I'm trying to say, like when you listen to like a metal song, most people think like, oh, it's negative because they're just screaming, right?
They just think that they're angry. They're probably writing about how they hate their parents.
Exactly. And then when you actually like listen, like I'm just, for instance, like Metallica songs, right? Most of their songs, it's a story, right? Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
people, you just gotta like read into it and look into it.
Yeah, and like I get it. Like metal is definitely not for everybody. Like you know, you can try as much as you want to be like, oh, this song is really, really good. Like, you can even start them off with like something like even like a slower song, or like something as simple as and approachable as like AC/DC.
Yeah.
But like they won't go any farther down that rabbit hole. Like they'll just scratch the surface of what hard rock and metal is.
Yeah.
So you said that you're Wisconsin and Illinois. So how does that work, and how did you meet the guys from Illinois? It was like a mutual thing, or what?
Yeah, so I was the last member to join the band, and so our vocalist and one guitar player, they're from Oshkosh, which is where I'm from, and then our drummer and other guitar player, they're from the Chicago area, and how the rest of the guys found them is from another band, and when they heard some of the stuff that their band was playing, our guys were just like, oh, we gotta pick these guys up. Like, these guys are sick musicians. So they reached out to them. They agreed to jump on board. They knocked out an EP, which is hopefully going to be coming out soon. We have 2 songs released right now. And then, yeah, when it came to me joining the band, like I said, I just reached out via Facebook, and I messaged our vocalist, and he was just like, this is all the things that you need. Like, since you're from Oshkosh, if you wanted to come over and we can teach you some of the songs and just hang out, get to know each other, we can definitely do that. So, yeah, it was right around towards the end of July when I went over for the first time and started learning some of the songs, and then it wasn't until early September is when I met the rest of the guys from Chicago. So it's really cool.
How hard is it then having like the band kind of split up in like sections?
It's pretty difficult. It makes rehearsing very hard because there's 5 people with 5 completely different work schedules.
Yeah.
And since our drummer is in Chicago, it doesn't make sense for him to haul all of his gear up to Oshkosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Only for him to haul it all the way back to Chicago. So we go there, and it's about a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
To and from. So, I mean, we kind of have to just reserve a whole day.
Just for rehearsals?
Just to rehearse.
Yeah. So when you guys like do like a rehearsal, do you guys do like rehearse covers? Do you guys do like your actual new stuff, or how does like rehearsals work for you guys then?
Rehearsals, we tend to not do covers really. I mean, we want to do covers to just extend our set because we only have 4 songs that we play live, and that reaches maybe 20 minutes a set. So
yeah,
in order to kind of move your way up, you kind of got to build your set time a little bit. So we've tried to work on covers. It's just we're just trying to find a way to introduce our own style instead of just doing the cover exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just rehearsal is just kind of mainly for locking everybody in and making sure like if anybody does make a mistake, like that gets ironed out really quick. And then with upcoming rehearsals that we do have, it's going to be working on new material.
So new material is coming then?
Eventually, yes.
I was gonna ask, are you guys like in the writing process right now of new music?
Yeah, I mean the writing process really never stops.
Yeah.
It's just you kind of tend to put the writing process on the back burner when you have shows coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you gotta focus on that, right?
Yeah, and towards the end of the month, we're pretty busy with shows, so we're trying to really iron out all the kinks that we have in our set right now to being solid and no mistakes. So, but yeah, writing never really stops. It's just where it's focused.
Yeah.
Where do you, or who do you look for kind of for inspiration? Is there anything that you look for?
Influence.
Like if you listen to something, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Or you see something like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I just, not to be that guy, but a lot of modern metal sucks. Like, it's all very copy paste, all very, like, samey.
Yeah.
Like, you can never really tell what any of the instruments are really doing. And, like, a lot of modern, like, I guess deathcore, death metal is, let's just see how many blast beats we can fit into a 5-minute song and how many animal noises we can make. Not to knock those bands, but like it's just I don't know, like
yeah.
With bands like Lorna Shore, I love Lorna Shore, but it's like I cannot listen to more than like 3 songs back to back because it's like this is just the same as the last 2.
So I was gonna ask then, since you mentioned, and I don't even know like personally, but like what's the difference between like deathcore and metalcore and like all of these other like side genres from metal?
So I'm still not an expert on it either because the definition changes so much. But to me, metalcore is it's a very very like groove metal bass, but with a thrash twist on the riffs. Because like stuff like old Bullet for My Valentine, old
Okay.
Avenged Sevenfold. Like a lot
Yeah.
of it's very riff driven, and then like during like the verses of the songs, it's a lot of like harsher, more like in your face type of vocals, and the choruses these very sing along choruses where like
Yeah.
it's like stuff you hear on the radio, but it's like just in that part of the song. Whereas deathcore, they take all those clean parts and they just like, no, we don't want that. We want
Yeah,
all harsh vocals, and we want to be as brutal as possible.
So it's like aggressive, and then it's kind of like aggressive, but not as aggressive as that, right?
Yeah. Like metalcore, I feel like is still very approachable to a lot of people. Where like
Yeah.
bands like Shadow of Intent, like I can guarantee like hardly anybody that goes from like only listening to metalcore would be like, oh, let's check out Shadow of Intent, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
probably crap themselves when they hear some of the stuff that they're doing.
So
But to your question, as far as like looking for things to inspire from, honestly, a lot of hip hop.
Really?
Yeah, because like as a bass player, instead of just playing the same thing as the guitar does, I kind of want the bass to have its own voice in the music, and in a
Yeah.
lot of hip hop, like you can
like the bass
you
drum.
can feel
Yeah.
like not so much here, but you feel the bass, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I look for. And,
Right.
and adding my own taste is just adding that feel into
Right.
Yeah,
the bass
that's
playing.
interesting.
That is because people probably don't like think that
Yes.
hip hop's the exact
Well,
opposite
like
of
you
metal.
said, yeah,
but
you
yeah.
can feel the bass, or you
Yeah.
you sense that sometimes more than the actual music.
Yeah, and
No,
like
that's
the way I would attribute our music to a certain genre is it's kind of like new metal in a way, but like with a modern twist. So like your new metal bands being like Korn, Slipknot, Rage Against the Machine, and like all these other bands, and like and Limp Bizkit especially. Like
yeah.
as much as people crap on Limp Bizkit, like I still love Limp Bizkit.
Yeah,
Like,
because he like brought like kind of like hip hop into metal.
yeah, like all these bands, like they bring like rap and hip hop elements into
Right.
metal music, and that's why it was such an explosion, because it was approachable from two different sides of a musical
Yeah.
spectrum, because you have all the metalheads being like, yeah, like that riff is so cool, and then you have the hip hop rap dudes on the other side being like, dude, he's doing like this crazy rap thing, and
Yeah.
like he's got flow and all this stuff. And our vocalist, he's very, very new metal inspired too. He takes a lot of inspiration from Jonathan Davis from Korn and Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, and so it's a very flow base that he has. So, but it's I guess new metalcore. is
Yeah.
another genre you can add to the list of already 1,000 plus. So
Yeah, so I was gonna ask then too, with like the vocalists and stuff, like when you guys are writing music, where's like your inspiration for like bands? Like what bands inspired you guys? Like so I don't know, like because you guys are like new metal, right?
Yeah.
You said so. Yeah, like what bands kind of like influence you guys?
definitely Korn for me. Fieldy's an amazing bass player. That dude's awesome. As a whole, definitely bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit. And then with like newer stuff, bands like Alpha Wolf, Enox, Era, bands you probably have never even
Yeah.
heard of. But Alpha Wolf is super sick. They kind of have the same sort of vibe that we do, where they just write really groovy stuff with just insane vocals, and that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
And I mean, we listen to everything from, like I said, deathcore to rap and hip hop. Like literally on the way down to our show last night, we were listening to Lil Dicky on the way down. So I mean, it just ranges so much, and
That's good though to have like that instead of just like listening to like just one thing, one genre, like
Right.
expanding. That makes it definitely makes you guys like a lot better.
right, because you can pull in from more inspiration.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
you know, I've been guilty of it growing up, listening to only metal, and like specifically thrash metal. Like thrash metal is a very, very niche genre, and like really hasn't been popular since the late 80s.
Yeah.
So kind of blinding myself with just only listening to thrash metal, like it puts you in a box.
Yeah.
And like if you don't listen to anything else, you're gonna stay in that box, and you can't really do anything else because you have nowhere else to pull from.
Yeah, I think that's how like we both were like we just like only listened to like metal and stuff, but then like as like we get older, like you start branching off.
Right. I would definitely say high school had a lot of help with that because
Oh yeah,
you know, growing up, you only, you know, you like what your parents like.
exactly. That is
so
true.
like,
Not me.
you know, okay, yeah.
No, no,
like,
but I know what you
for the
mean.
most part, like, you know, you like what your parents like, and you know, I know with us growing up, you know,
Yeah.
Dad being the biggest Metallica fan I ever knew, and
Yeah.
like, you know, which makes me one of the biggest Metallica fans. Like in middle school, like I wore Metallica shirts every day to school. That's all I would listen to. Like I would listen to Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, front to back all the time, just because I was
Yeah.
like, this is my personality. I'm making my personality about this band I love.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I made it a goal in middle school to try and learn every Metallica song on guitar, and it's like, I mean, they're very fun songs to play. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not knocking any of it. It's just when you kind of put yourself in this corner where it's like you're only surrounded by one thing,
Yeah.
and then you get into, you know, a place like high school where it's just a melting pot of so many different trends and personalities, and like that's what I really started to get into, like death metal and more of the metalcore, deathcore stuff. Like I discovered Meshuggah for the first time as a freshman, and it's like, if anybody who watches this knows Meshuggah, like they are an insane band, and like it is a life goal of mine to see them live because they're just incredible musicians. So like getting into that honestly helped me so much, and then just diving deeper down that rabbit hole of all these other bands that are just incredible. And then I started getting into the deathcore at like 16, 17 with bands like Whitechapel, Suicide Silence, and Job for a Cowboy. Yeah, awesome names.
Speaking of band names, how do you guys get your band name? Because I still don't understand. Like, it's kind of weird for a lot of people. I don't know what vapid means.
So the word vapid in and of itself basically just means there's nothing of substance. Like it's a very empty thing. So
Okay.
the term vapid soul just is kind of the term vapid is synonymous with the word empty, vacant.
So empty soul, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like no soul, like it just.
yeah,
There's,
well,
like, nothing there,
well,
like,
they,
I
these
gotcha.
people that have a soul, but like they have nothing
Like,
in
they feel
there.
empty?
Like yes,
Yeah,
they're very
I
empty
Okay.
people.
I got you.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
that makes more sense to me now.
That might not be the right way that they got the name, but that's the direct definitions of
Yeah.
said words. But at least you guys pronounced it right, being vapid, because people have pronounced it vapid before. And
Vapid.
yeah, but I pretty much any sort of other pronunciation I've heard, like even the guy that announced us last night in Harvard, he pronounced it vapid soul, and like he's the guy that booked us, and like
Damn, didn't do his research, I guess.
That's-
I just when I always tell people, I was just like, it's like rapid but with a V instead of
Okay.
an R.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Vapid,
it
rapid.
just makes it easier for people to remember.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
How do you go about like setting up shows and stuff? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, that's a good
So
question.
our manager, she has been in the industry for quite a long time, so she has a lot of connections to so many different venues. Right now, we are trying to see if any band that either comes to the Forge in Joliet, Illinois, which is where a lot of big bands have been coming to recently, or the Oshkosh Arena, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy that does the booking for both those events, our manager knows personally.
Oh. Damn.
So
It's not about what you know; it's who you know. Dude.
Yeah.
exactly,
100%.
especially when it comes to music, like if you have connections to your local scene, like it is crucial that you become good friends with them and make good impressions of yourself, because there's a lot of bands, especially small like bands who think they're the shit, and they'll let you know that they think that, and they'll try and do anything they can to control the show. Like I've seen bands like try and tell the sound guy how to do his job, or like
Yeah, that looks bad.
right. And like there was a video recently. I don't know if you guys remember the band Crazy Town, but they had that one song called Butterfly.
No.
But anyway, so there was a...
Was it like off of something?
Well, it was like their only big song, and like they kind of got an inflated ego because that was their only big song. Like they was being played on the radio and stuff like that, and they're just like, "Oh, we're on the radio. We made it. Like you got one song and made it."
Yeah.
But there's a video of them recently where something with one of their monitors, like the guitar player didn't like what he was hearing from his monitor, and he was getting really upset at the sound guy to where he started like defacing the equipment,
Jesus.
like kicking the monitor, throwing the mic stand, like throwing his own instrument, I think, at one point.
Jeez, dude.
Bro.
And then like the sound guy goes up there and like they're like in a shoving match, and at one point the sound guy yells at him to get off the stage. So I don't know. When you do stuff like that, it just makes you look bad.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
You can't be doing that because without the sound guy, like you won't have a show, dude.
Yeah.
So
You won't get paid.
yeah, it's sad, but like yeah, definitely networking is crucial when it comes to growth as a band.
Yeah.
Like reaching out to any other small bands. Like I know our vocalist, he listens to pretty much every band that we've played a show with and gets very personal with them, and like gets phone numbers, Facebook information, emails, so we can connect and hook up with other bands and play shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
So, do you guys have any like upcoming shows then?
We do, yes. So the 21st of May, we play at a place called Studio 301 in Portage, Wisconsin. And then we play May 25th at the X-Ray Arcade in Milwaukee. And there's a band called Archers, and they're headlining, and that's day one of their tour.
Oh,
So
okay.
we wanna start out their tour with a bang.
So is it just you two bands that are on?
No, it's us and a couple of other bands that are very local to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And then May 26th is kind of like our magnum opus show for this year. So it's for an event called the Shiprockers Conquer the Quad Cities, and that is in Moline, Illinois, and which is the farthest that I've traveled for a show.
Is it like Southern Illinois?
It's right on the border of Iowa and Illinois.
Oh,
so
okay.
like
Oh, yeah.
it's Moline, the Mississippi River, and then Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, all right.
So like it's literally right there. But that's a weekend event, and we played day one of that event, and
cool.
it's a Shiprocker organized event, and what I mean by that is the organizers of Shiprocked, which is the cruise ship metal festival thing that happens every year, and they pull in insane bands. This last year they had Parkway Drive, Motionless in White,
Oh,
Bad
damn.
Omens, Attila, like all these insanely huge bands on this cruise ship, and they just go around the Caribbean for
That's
like
wild.
a week.
That is pretty cool, actually.
And so the organizers of that organized this event. So like this is huge.
That is
for
big.
us. Like never in my life did I think that my band would be on the same poster as Nothing More.
Yeah, that's big.
Like I've seen Nothing More like twice, and it's like now my band is on a poster with them. It's just like 16-year-old me is shitting himself right now.
So, since you've only done like shows in like this local area, right? Do you guys want to eventually like branch off into like across, like
Absolutely.
US, and maybe
Absolutely.
even eventually around, the whole world?
Yeah, that is every musician's dream, right? To
Yeah.
go on tour, experience
Sell out
the world.
stadiums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's so many cool things that you can do as a musician. Like it's not a very glorious job by any means, because like the groundwork to get where all these big bands that sell out stadiums and arenas, like the groundwork to get there is not easy at all. Like
No.
you start from nothing.
Yeah.
And it's all about word of mouth, and if you're good people and you make good music and you put on a good show. So
That's kind of how it is for like most things nowadays. Honestly, just like have good connections, be nice to people, and see what happens.
Right.
reach out.
Like, if there's any advice I have for new upcoming musicians that are hungry and, want to take the world by the balls and, just go tour it, it's like you need to start off by being just a good person.
Yeah.
And don't lose faith, because I remember after my last band kind of dissolved, I was really down on myself, and I was just like, man, I'm never going to find a band to play music with ever again. I have all this equipment that's just going to sit here, and like I'm not going to do anything with it. But it's like you just got to go for it, man. You just got to keep grinding.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that you really want to do. Like I can remember as early as being like 11, 12 years old. When I got my first guitar, I was like, man, I want to do this for a living. Like, this would be an insane dream come true.
Yeah.
And like,
that's sick.
And like even still, like, just like playing shows to people, and like there was a show last night. Like, there are people wearing our merch. And it's just like
that's definitely like so cool.
Complete strangers just wearing our merch, and it's just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And like, for what we are, like, we're relatively small, so I mean, we're up to like a couple hundred monthly listeners on Spotify, which still blows my mind that, a couple hundred people listen to the 2 songs we have out every month.
Yeah.
And like, just have it in their rotation. Like, if you just listen to your local bands, like, they will remember you for the rest of their career.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Like, because if you guys like eventually get bigger, right, and then like these shows that you play around here, like, wow, I just saw those people like a couple years ago, and now they're playing in Los Angeles. That's
like, literally, there's so many bands like that now. Like, bands that I mentioned before, like Bad Omens, like a couple years ago, like only a handful of people, like, by a handful I mean like several thousand, but like,
yeah.
Now they're up to like millions of monthly listeners on Spotify, and like it's incredible because now they sold out their entire last 2 tours, like completely sold out.
Damn.
And it's like, seeing bands like that win is a win for the entire industry and the entire genre. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, actually. All starts with a dream.
Absolutely.
What is your favorite thing to do at a show? Is it like the performance? Is it interacting with the people? What is that?
Yeah.
It's really all of it. Like,
the whole process of
the whole experience, well, other than driving, because some of these shows we drive several hours to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so I feel like a lot of people don't really know what goes into a show. So, you have a load-in time, which, for the most part, is a couple hours before the doors even open. So, it's pretty much, you get there, you load in your gear, you go load in your stuff backstage, you set up merch, and you sit around for like 2.5 hours. Well, typically the headlining band is doing their sound check, and like the rest of the people are setting up, like the sound guy is setting his stuff up, the light guy's making sure all the lights run. Most of these places we play at, there's a bar, so like we just kind of go hang out, and I don't drink, so I just kind of hang out. I drink my water. But yeah, so like every band, all bands have that one load-in time. Yeah, and we all just kind of hang out and just...
And then wait.
Yeah, hurry up and wait, and just hang out, you chat, you talk about music, you talk about life, it's just... I call it the homie hangout, because that's literally what it is. Like, it's just a bunch of homies hanging out, just drinking, having fun, and when it comes time for the doors open, that first band goes on, you stand out, you watch that band, you headbang, you mosh, you get into it, like... it's awesome. And then, like, when it's your turn to go on stage, if you show that for the other bands, they're going to show that for you. So,
yeah. So, since most people probably will never have this experience in their lives, what's that feeling like when you first go on stage and you're, like, about to play? What's that feeling like?
So, I'm a very anxious person, and have a lot of nerves before I go on stage. Like I'm very nervous, like like to the point where I'm just like shaking standing off stage with my bass and like, oh man, I'm so scared. But literally as soon as the intro to our set starts, it's like all of that is just gone. And like you are now in this moment, you are on stage, you are playing in front of 7,500 people, sometimes a little bit more than that, and like you just don't care.
Yeah.
And like if anybody's seen any of the videos and pictures of us playing and they see me, like chances are they have no idea what my face looks like, because I am headbanging, windmilling the whole time pretty much. Like, yeah. And I get compliments every show being like, I love the windmills, man. Like, my neck hurt watching you do that. Like,
That's some old head shit.
it really is.
How does your brain feel after that? Like,
Honestly, the more I do
got
it,
hit by a truck or what?
the first couple of times, yeah, it's just like, oh, my neck. And like, but honestly, the more I do it,
over
the
time,
less I hurt. Like, I think there's been
Yeah.
enough muscle tears in my neck to where it's just... It's just starting to get so strong, and pretty soon I'm going to have that corpse grinder, Corey Taylor neck, where it's just, they have no chin, it's just all
Go
neck.
straight to your shoulders.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is, there's so much adrenaline when it comes to playing live shows, because you have all these people staring at you, cheering you on.
Yeah.
Like, some of them singing lyrics to the songs, which still just
Yeah, that's
blows my mind.
That's like a dream too, I would assume.
Like strangers knowing the words to our songs. It's
Yeah.
just like, this is it's a legit drug. Like and it's better than any drug you can possibly.
Yeah, that's what
take.
like everybody says, that is like in a band and you're playing in front of thousands and thousands of people. Like,
Yeah, I
you
couldn't.
can't get
I lose my mind after playing for 100 people. I couldn't imagine what it's like playing to 1,000. Like, like seeing all these people just jump around, moshing, crowd surfing. Like, I don't know if I could contain myself. Like, I'd probably lose it. Because like I've been at shows where they sell out to like 1,500 people, and like the energy there is insane, and that's just being in the crowd. I couldn't imagine what it feels like on stage.
Yeah, no. Something that I'll never.
Yeah, and
The
then,
fact that anything though you're like great at or you're good at, the nerves are always going to be there.
Oh,
but
yeah,
once you're in it,
100%.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, like I've done this.
100%.
Like this is nothing
like
new.
yeah,
Like, it's
I've
been here.
been doing this a couple hundred times. Like,
Yeah.
you know, going back to Metallica earlier, like when they played to like 1.8 million people in Moscow.
Oh,
like,
I do remember seeing that video.
Like 1.8 million people.
Yeah.
That's like the population of Idaho in one place. Like that.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Dude,
I couldn't imagine the adrenaline rush that them dudes got.
Yeah.
Looking as far as you can see, and like all you see is just people.
And that's
everywhere.
And that's overseas. That's not even like in the States.
Right, too. Like, first of all, you're playing to a country that has no idea what any English word means.
Yeah.
Singing to your songs, going absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
To the point where they had to get the military police involved at that show.
Yeah, you know you're big when that happens.
Right. Yeah. So, like, seeing bands, like, I don't know, take that stuff for granted.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, yeah, I've been doing this. It's no big deal. It's just like, dude, what do you mean no big deal? Like, you're just, what you're showing to your fans is just like, oh,
You
I
don't
don't
care.
care.
Yeah.
Like, I could lose this tomorrow and not care. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you would. Man.
you're showing to your fans you don't give a shit about them. And, like, once you start doing that, they really won't.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to interact with your fans for sure.
Absolutely. That's why I try to talk to as many people as I can. And
Yeah, that's cool. 'Cause, like the fan interactions, especially since like you guys are so small still, and you're like that personal.
yeah, and what's really cool too about these smaller shows is like all the other bands on the bill, they stay and watch your set unless if they're not, you know, being assholes, which has happened. And you know, I kind of tend to look down on bands like that because like
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
right, like there's
Because you all have the same goal at the end of the day.
right, like if one of us wins, we all win. Like
Yeah.
we're all just as hungry. Like there's plenty to go around. Like just don't be that band and be like, well, we just come here to play our set and then, you know, we leave. Like, no, you don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
like I get it if you're a touring band and like like you play in Chicago and your next venue is in like freaking
Yeah.
Boston.
You gotta go like that.
I get it. Like that's a 9-hour drive. I get it. But like,
Yeah.
with these pop-up shows and bands that come from all around and just go to one area, like just don't leave.
Yeah.
Like that just looks bad.
So I'm gonna ask them, what's like the craziest like fan experience you've had, or like not I won't say craziest, but like the weirdest maybe.
Or
If
one
you-
that sticks out.
Yeah, like what's one that's like a fan experience that sticks out maybe. Maybe not to you personally, but maybe to like another member that you've heard of, like a story.
I gotta think. I haven't had any like weird ones. Like the most common like fan comment / interaction I get is them commenting on my finger playing, because like I said, most modern metal bass
Yeah.
players use a pick. So when somebody sees a modern metal bass player using fingers, it's just like, whoa, that dude's a unicorn. Like I want to go talk to that guy.
Yeah.
And like I just think that my stage presence too, like a lot of people tend to just come up to me and just, ask how my neck is feeling. And,
Yeah.
although I will say there was one time I was doing sound check and, like I said, I'm playing with my fingers and this is a pretty dirty joke, but I just heard a guy say, "Your girlfriend's a very lucky lady."
Dude.
So I didn't see.
That dude's
I didn't,
definitely got to be over the age of 50.
Yeah.
it sounded like a middle-aged man. I didn't see who it was. I just heard it from the bar area, and I just kind of laughed. I was like,
Definitely got to be single
Yeah,
too.
you gotta be
That is that.
You gotta smirk a little bit on that one.
That was probably the funniest thing I've ever had happen during a sound check. Yeah, but no, nothing really weird stands out to me.
Yeah.
As like, because everybody's really cool. Like yeah, we're all weird.
Yeah.
Like, but we're not weird to the point where like you walk away from somebody and being like, that guy was weird.
Have you ever had like one of those experiences? Maybe not like at like a concert, or not at one of your concerts, but have you ever had like one of those like weird moments at maybe like another concert where it's just like you just said, like you walk away and you're just like, what the hell just happened?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially at bigger shows where like, with bands that I've seen where they play everywhere and people come from very far to come see these bands, and everybody comes from a different walk of life, and I don't want to try and knock anybody for it, but like, man, when you're in a venue and like you are chain smoking joints around like
Yeah.
children,
Oh yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
really, I'm sorry, you can't be doing that. Like,
No, yeah, that's kind of messed up.
yeah, no, especially at the rave in Milwaukee, there's a lot of weird people that go to those shows, because the rave is like a two-story
Yeah.
thing where they have the bottom floor and then they have the top floor, which is for like not bigger groups, but that's where like stuff like Shrek Rave happens.
What's that?
Oh, it's
Shrek
it's
Rave?
just this guy that dresses up as Shrek and like
What?
and plays like All Star as like a DJ, and it's just it's hilarious.
That's kind of cool though.
It's kind of wild.
I've never seen it, but I've heard some crazy stories.
That's funny though.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always going to be at least one crazy fan
Yeah.
at bigger shows, because you got your super fans that like, I have your band name tattooed on my forehead, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, nothing crazy to me personally.
Yeah. Do you got any other?
I don't
Do we-
know.
Do we do top 5?
We can do top 5.
You want to top 5 right now?
I'll do top
All right,
5.
we'll end it. All right.
All right.
So today's top 5 Metallica songs, in our opinions,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Not like saying like which one's like the most popular, but like
your personal
your
top
personal
5.
favorite top 5.
All right. Who's
You
going
want to start?
first? Me start?
You start.
All right. I'm probably the least educated on this subject, but I do like Metallica.
For
though.
5.
5, I think that Travis said this one time. This is his favorite. Sad but True.
Oh yeah, off the Black Album.
Banger.
Number 4.
Wait. Are we doing 5? 5.
Oh yeah. True. Go ahead. All right, you're
Okay, my 5. I have. Oh, actually, I do have 2 songs. No, I have 1 song off the Black Album. My 5 is Wherever I May Roam. That's probably
Nice.
my favorite. It's pretty underrated off the Black Album. Most people just
Very,
say
very true.
Enter Sandman, but
Yeah.
It's overplayed. So
Yeah, very overplayed. Those are very good choices. But my number 5, and this is a very sentimental one to me, is Saint Anger
Really?
off of Saint Anger.
most people don't like that album.
Well, I have a very, very special place in my heart for it. That was what I listened to when I was at my lowest and darkest point mentally. And that album really helped me kind of look at things a little bit lighter, because that album is a very emotionally driven album from Metallica. And
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. But,
yeah, I mean,
it's because it was different. That's
yeah,
why.
Exactly. It was very different, and like, I don't know, lyrically to me, that album just hit home for what I was feeling at the time
That's
that I
how-
was listening to it. And at one point in Saint Anger, where he screams "Set me free," it like,
Yeah.
dude, I feel that in every fiber of my being. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's-
that's my top.
Most-
That's my number 5 song, and it's just because it's so special.
That's how most Metallica songs are. I feel like, at least to me, like it's just like a place in your heart, like a moment in your life where it's just like, that
Yeah.
song like got me through a lot. But
That one.
That's how I feel about. That's how Goodbye and Good Riddance is for me. Like I like that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the album that
Yeah.
I listened to when I was like at
Yeah.
again like mentally you're not
Yeah.
100%. Like you
Yeah, when you're at your lowest
kind of
point.
you're kind of lost a little bit. Yeah.
yeah.
My number 4, you guys just hated on it, but I have Enter Sandman just because again like I don't listen to it a lot, but. Like when I played football, like you go into every stadium.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
playing Enter
Yeah.
Sandman.
Yeah, that
And
song's
then,
played everywhere.
like the Virginia Tech
Yeah, when they run out to
walkout.
that.
Oh my gosh, I just
That's-
think
that
that's
is-
so cool.
that
so
is.
I got Enter Sandman.
Yeah, when that
before.
riff plays, like you just know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's not that we shit on it for it being
just
a
'cause-
bad song.
No,
it's just like
everybody,
100%
like,
understand.
yeah, it's 'cause
That's
everybody
how- there's so many
listens to it.
songs like
Yeah.
that where it's like just so overplayed. But
Yeah.
it's a good song, but since it's overplayed, you're just like kind
yeah.
of ruined.
That's
it.
how
Yeah.
that's how I feel about Thunderstruck. Honestly, like
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
everybody knows Thunderstruck, and you know, being a guitar player, I have this really sour spot for that song because any non-guitar player hears that opening riff, and it's like that's the hardest song ever. Like that's impossible. So like. People are just like, can you play Thunderstruck? And then they realize it's like 4 notes, and it's just like, oh, that doesn't look that hard. It's like, it's because it's not. I could probably teach either one of you how to play that within a week.
All right, my 4. This is the only song I have off of Master of Puppets, and I have number 4 is Master of Puppets. I think that's me personally. That's like one of my favorite songs of not even just that album, but like just all time.
Yeah.
The lyrics in that song are so good, and that's what I'm saying. Then with lyrics, like people don't like you hear him like not screaming. He's not screaming in the song, but like when you actually
It's
look
more,
at the
more
lyrics,
aggressive.
yeah, when you look at the lyrics though, it's like damn. Because when I first listened to it, I'm like I don't know what he's saying, and then you look in the lyrics and like damn, that's kind of crazy.
You ever seen the movie Old School?
No,
You've seen- Oh, watch that. That song's in that movie. It's like a funny scene. Watch that movie. That's a good movie.
all right,
With Will Ferrell.
Okay, my number 4. This is a very, very, very deep cut, but it's Fixer with
Really?
3 X's.
is it that off of?
That's off of Reload, and it's either Load or Reload, one of the two. It's the slept on Metallica era, but that song addresses a topic that's very, very close to my heart, where it talks about child abuse,
oh really?
specifically like child slavery, and well, maybe not child slavery, but mainly just like using your kids to just throw all your crap at, and like
Yeah.
he in the song James uses a voodoo doll as like a representation of what you're doing to these kids by putting pins in them, these little pins, and eventually you run out of spot to put these pins, and that means you kind of have to fix the damage you've done. And
Damn,
like
that's deep.
yeah, like
Damn.
fixing holes in your relationships with your kids. It's like if you didn't have these problems with yourself, you wouldn't have had problems with your kids.
Yeah, that's a deep topic.
Yeah, so that was a deep cut for me, but
Yeah.
I love that song, and it's because it's like again a very slept on era that most people kind of just brush over as being the end of thrash, because Metallica
Yeah.
they cut their hair and they don't write 200 BPM songs anymore.
Yeah.
Number 3, I got one.
Oh,
Yes.
have you seen the music video for that? Dude, the
100%,
music videos.
100%.
I remember
Yeah.
like watching that when I was like a kid, and
Yeah,
it scared
same.
me.
Yeah.
It scared me too.
Yeah, and then I want to watch like the movie.
Oh yeah,
Like the actual
Johnny's
yeah.
Got a Gun. Yeah, I think several years after that video where they used so many clips from Johnny's Got His Gun, they actually bought the rights to that
That's-
movie.
He told me that
Yeah.
one time. Yeah.
Yeah, they because originally it was a book, and then most books turn into movies,
Yep.
and I guess that movie was just so good, and obviously since the song was written from the perspective of Johnny's Got His Gun, and for the listeners that don't know about the song, it's about a soldier that gets all of his limbs blown off. He loses all of his senses. He can't feel. He can't hear. He can't see. He can't speak. All he can do is think, because he's still alive, but he's, for lack of a better term, pretty much already dead.
Yeah.
But all he is just in his head, just being like, I just want to die. I just want to die.
Like in the music video, like he's like because he just like talks to himself in the music video, but he obviously has no correlation to real life.
He has no sense of reality.
Yeah, and that's also the first music video that Metallica ever made. You know that?
Really?
Yeah.
What a way to start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For real.
4 albums into their career, almost 8 years, and first music video, and it is
Yeah.
everywhere.
One of the best, I think. My 3 is honestly gonna be number 1, Creeping Death. If you ever went to like a live show of Metallica and they played that song, I think it's one of my favorite songs they play live.
Die.
Dude, yeah, live it's I mean it's obviously good, like the studio version too, but live it's so good.
Yeah, that's one of those songs where it's almost better live than
I think it is,
than
yeah.
the studio version. And like we were talking earlier about the crowd interaction with being in a band, like that is gonna be one of the most crowd interactive songs ever, because
Yeah.
A, it's just a badass song, and it's got one of the best metal chants. You're chanting the word "die" over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 3, Seek and Destroy.
Ooh, off the first album,
Off of
yeah.
Kill 'Em All. Seek and Destroy, that song to me is like prime James Hetfield voice, and like especially in his young age, because I know James, he hates his younger voice, but that song to me is what Metallica should have sounded like all the time.
Yeah.
And also like covering that song with my last band so many times, and
Yeah,
me.
live. Alright, sorry about the technical difficulty, but we're on number 2 right now.
All right.
So.
My number 2, Seek and Destroy.
Oh,
Because,
yeah. Yep.
I used to, when I was younger, my dad drove me to every Pop Warner game, every middle school game.
Yeah.
Every time, never failed. I didn't have to ask. He put it on. It was just like,
Yeah.
all right, like,
I think there's always like a Metallica song that like
Yeah.
if you like played sports, like you've heard it like before a game or
Yeah.
like
During
for
the
Seek and
game.
Destroy, like every time, like my dad would play in the car and he'd,
Fired
and then
up.
I'm just getting locked.
Get fired up.
You're in the zone.
Like
now.
I think I'm playing for the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's
That's
like-
awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, my number 2, Fade to Black.
Very good.
Oh, dude.
Very
Just gets you
good
in your
song.
zone. It's like it's like a slower song, but it's got like the aggressiveness that Metallica's got.
Yeah,
So
it's a very
yeah.
sad song
yeah,
too.
it is.
My number 2 is Creeping Death.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Creeping Death.
You can't go wrong.
As from a guitar player's standpoint, that is an insane song to try and learn, because James Hetfield being the king of down picking, like that song is so fast, and like it's just and that's all just down pick. So like your wrist is shot by the end of it if
Yeah.
if you're not like trained enough in it. But yeah, I mean, like we were just talking about, like that chant live.
Oh yeah,
it,
live
like,
is so good.
It's insane. Just it doesn't matter. Like they've played that song in every continent.
Yeah.
So like just knowing that they've chanted "die" on every continent like makes me happy. All right,
Number 1.
Numero uno.
My number 1, Fade to Black.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's a video on YouTube. It's not like the music video, but somebody did it, and it's the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan.
Oh wow!
And it matches up perfectly because he's like he goes to Arlington and he sees all the tombs, and then it flashes like goes in his eyes, and he's like storming the beaches in Normandy, and it starts to pick up right as they start to run out. I'm like, oh yeah, like, so that was really cool. And then my friend, I played it for him, and one year for my birthday then, because I got a record player, he got me Ride the Lightning on vinyl. Oh. So I would always just play that.
I feel like I do remember that. Like I remember you having an old record player at your house, and just
So
the opening Fire with Fire. It's just like that sounds so good on vinyl, dude.
Yeah, dude. Because when you look up that song on YouTube, Fade to Black, you look it up. I'm pretty sure like that music video. It's obviously not from Metallica, but like it's like one of like the highest viewed videos.
It's still there. Like it's so good.
I think it's higher viewed than the actual audio.
I think that might be right, actually. My number one, just because it's got like the biggest place in my heart, is One. Ever since I was a kid, like that music video, it scared me at first, but like
once you realize what it
was about, like
honestly, once I realized what it was about, it made me even more terrified because
it does. But
just knowing that like you can't do anything other than just think about death.
It's just you.
Yeah, other than just praying to die, like that's gotta be one of the worst things to ever experience. And like the fact that I think it was based off a true story.
I think so.
But so 1 at 1.
Yeah, perfect.
My number 1 is not One. It is Master of Puppets.
Yeah,
that has always been my favorite Metallica song for really no reason like that's worth validating. Like it's just I just love the riff. I love the song. I just the lyrics are so good.
The lyrics are so good in that song. Chop your breakfast on a mirror.
Yeah, like it doesn't even really have to be about one thing controlling you. Like we all have masters at some level.
Yeah.
So
that like have influence on us.
Yeah, and that slow melodic section like halfway through like it's so good. It's so good. And then I'm nerding out over the song, but like the solo in it, it's so good.
And it's not like a longer song, but like usually I don't listen to like longer songs like because it's like 7 minutes.
It's like 8.5. I want to say.
Yeah, it's longer, but like there's every part and it's good. Like there's not one part that you like. Okay, just skip this part.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I like about a lot of older Metallica is since they did write longer songs, but like there is a formula to writing longer songs. It's where you just don't draw out one section for too long. Like Master of Puppets, like the whole album is just I just call it the riff collage because there's so many riffs in all the songs. Like Master of Puppets has got to have at least 12 riffs in it. Like there's so many in there, and like the fact that it just all flows so naturally, and like there's really nothing super abrupt, and like you always know like pretty much what's gonna happen next. Like I don't know if you guys watch a lot of reaction content on YouTube, but like I watch a lot of like people that have like never heard songs before, like or claim they've never heard songs before, but like listening to songs like Master of Puppets for the first time, like
no, I've seen those,
and like I don't know, it just kind of brings me back to the first time I heard it and like how blown away I was, and like it makes me relive that moment. It's just so cool watching the impact that, especially now Master of Puppets, being in Stranger Things and turning a whole new generation of people onto Metallica. It's like these dudes are never gonna die. Like
no.
Literally, would you say they're the GOATs? Like the best?
Arguably, yes. Arguably, they are the biggest, and well, they're not even arguably. They're the most successful metal band to ever walk the earth. So
yeah, definitely.
I mean, to play on all 7 continents, have a record that is still in the Billboard Top 200, like being the Black Album. Like that album still sells like insane numbers. So I mean, kind of undisputed as the best metal band to ever walk the earth.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they have so many songs that
Speaks for
like
itself.
people hear like at stadiums, arenas,
Yeah,
anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there's so many like
But,
Metallica.
like I said, like I was at the mall today
Yeah.
and like I'm in a store and like you hear it. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
like
All the Metallica. I mean, most people that wear Metallica shirts nowadays don't even like listen to Metallica, but
it's
it's
just
just a fashion statement now, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't even really matter. Like
that's part of the thing. Like it's never gonna die.
Exactly.
Like it's just always gonna be.
like
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you'll see some 16-year-old girl. She'll be buying a Metallica shirt just because she likes how the font looks. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is tough.
that,
It
like,
does.
It's so tough.
Their
like
shirts.
you can't even, like, deny, like, oh, well, she's just in it because, look, just shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
All these old heads are, like, the name 3 songs bullshit. Like, that drives me nuts. Like, name 3 songs. Like, okay, and what if she names 3 deep cuts? Like, you're going to lose your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But literally, even if it is just like people buying the shirts as a fashion statement, like that revenue is still somehow
To them.
making its way back to the
Oh,
band.
yeah.
So whether old heads that gatekeep like it or not, like they're still supporting that band.
Yeah.
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 You should like embrace it. 100%.
Exactly. Like, and that's why I kind of enjoy the way TikTok does things now because, you know, stuff like Bad Omens, like, they went from, you know, a couple thousand monthly listeners to millions, and that's all thanks due to TikTok. Cause
Yeah, TikTok. I mean, even though it might go away, like it
No,
blown up a lot.
They updated their terms and service.
They did.
Yeah.
So it's gonna stay.
in the U.S. Yeah.
Damn. But yeah, that's
But
like
that is like the best way to blow up because all
Literally.
it takes is one. All
Yeah.
it takes is one, and then
Yeah.
somebody sees it like, oh, I like this content.
dude. You know how many
Boom.
songs that are on TikTok that like blew up, but like I've heard them before, but then they blew up
100%.
on TikTok and like oh now it's
yeah,
huge.
like, there's an old, like, deathcore song. I can't remember what the band is, but it's like that breakdown, and he just says, disrespect your surroundings. Like, so many people have seen that video.
Yeah.
Or
there's so many. Yeah, so many.
like one of
audios.
the newer ones, it's a band called Sleep Token, which, once their album drops, I think it's gonna be album of the year. Like, it's so diverse in everything. I'll have to show you guys afterwards, but like
Is it? What is it been?
Sleep Token.
Oh, okay.
So they're this, like, I don't even know how to describe them because there's so many different things that they throw into each song, and it's so cool. But the song that really made them kind of blow up this year was a song called "The Summoning," and it's because at the last like 2 minutes of the song is this super like sensual like bass groove and guitar, like, and the vocals like they're very horny. Like, once you listen to it and like read the lyrics, it's just like, oh yeah, I can tell what this guy was feeling when he was writing this song. But like Sleep Token, they like same story as Bad Omens. Like, went from a couple thousand monthly listeners to just blowing up, to having to like 7 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Like, that type of growth is just unheard of, and honestly, you have to thank social media and TikTok specifically, which is kind of why, like, you know, the Vapid guys, like, I still have no idea how TikTok works. Like, I have it, but like, I just don't know
There is an
what to
algorithm.
do.
If you learn how to do it, it's
Yeah.
It's incredible how much it can bring attention, and like, whether those people translate, like, that growth translates to other parts of your social media, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if brands or venues or a management sees that you have like tens of millions of followers and likes on a certain social media, like, clearly you're doing something right, and
people know who you are, or
Yeah.
obviously like it. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's just the fact that people can see that and, you know, be like, oh, these guys are pretty big. But, you know, whether that translates to Instagram or Twitter or whatever, like, you still have that one big number that you can kind of hold on to.
Right. Yeah. All right. Good.
Anything else
All
you want
right.
to ask?
Thanks for coming on, Dylan.
Thanks. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Appreciate this, man. This is
Yeah,
fun.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Anything you would like to say to the people watching?
Go listen to Vapid Soul. We have
Yep.
2 songs on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, or wherever you get your music. The songs are called Fallout and Switchblade. And if you are in and around the Illinois area on May 26th, we would greatly appreciate you coming out to our show in
Or
Moline.
Wisconsin.
Or Portage, Wisconsin, or just follow us on social media and you'll
What are
be.
the socials?
I'll plug.
So
the
it's
socials.
Vapid Soul on Facebook, Vapid Soul Band, I believe, on Instagram, and then there's a Vapid Soul Twitter and TikTok.
I'll plug it all in.
Pretty much all of it except for Snapchat. We do not have a band Snapchat,
Yeah,
which
nah.
if you have a band Snapchat,
That's
you're
kinda
weird.
That is weird. All right.
Thank you again, man.
Deuces.
Deuces.